Hey guys, it's Godbars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 162nd episode of my series, where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it has, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. So today I wanted to cover a somewhat underappreciated pick, coming from a West Coast legend who's been an essential piece of the puzzle to West Coast gangster rap since the late 80s. That, of course, being Dub C. This veteran kind of initially got the start on his journey through his affiliations with icons like Ice-T, but he really began to make a name for himself in West Coast hip hop as one half of the duo Low Profile with DJ Aladdin. But for better or worse, that didn't end up lasting very long after the release of their debut LP, 1989's We're In This Together. It may have taken nearly a decade for his first official solo effort, 1998's The Shadiest One, followed by 2002's Ghetto Heisman, but he still remained extremely active and influential throughout the decade, mainly through the West Side Connection crew, where he was alongside fellow West Coast legends Ice Cube and Mac 10. However, even before the formation of that supergroup, Dub C had further established himself through his work with the Maad Circle, which in some ways sort of acted as the prerequisite for West Side Connection, though the only two LPs that the collective ended up releasing were 1995's Curb Servant and their essential debut, which we're discussing today, 1991's Ain't a Damn Thing Changed. Outside of Dub C, of course, the rest of the crew included names like Big G, DJ Crazy Tunes, and interestingly enough, a young Coolio, who was just getting his start in the game at this time, and in turn would feature Dub C and the other Maad Circle members on his solo debut, It Takes a Thief. This LP exists as a stellar example of a golden age California hip-hop project that incorporates aspects of socially conscious and pretty forward-thinking ideas regarding race relations, police brutality, attempting to make a living on the straight and narrow path, and there's even moments where Dub C shares some deeply personal and vulnerable experiences from his childhood about the near impossible task of navigating an abusive / absent quote-unquote father figure within your family and how it affects your relationship with them and the people around you. That song is incredibly solid, but unfortunately it suffers from a less than ideal title, as a song name like Fuck My Daddy hasn't exactly aged like fine wine, especially considering how quick every other kid nowadays is to say nice try Diddy in response to anything they find remotely sus or potentially homosexual. And I feel pretty confident that most of them would just label this song as gay before even listening to it and actually trying to understand the context. This was one of those very essential and transitional years for hip-hop music, where not only was the genre really becoming a widespread art form with a rapidly growing fan base, but MCs and groups from all over were breaking down various doors and discovering new subgenres within rap music, resulting in 1991 becoming a year that really can't be ignored within the context of hip-hop history. I mean, from fellow West Coast classics like Death Certificate, the sophomore LP from Dub C's close friend and collaborator Ice Cube, to hardcore southern rap masterpieces like We Can't Be Stopped by Ghetto Boys, over to the Afrocentric and socially aware content that was coming out of New York, like the Low End Theory by Tribe Called Quest, and even other movements happening in the Mecca that same year, like Public Enemy continuing their run of explosive, radical, and militant releases that influenced and shifted the course of hip-hop drastically, with their fourth studio full-length titled Apocalypse 91, The Enemy Strikes Black, which is honestly a pretty slept-on release in PE's extensive discography, which is why I'm planning on covering it pretty soon on the channel. If you're a relatively new listener to Dub C, the Maad Circle, and or their full-length debut here, you may be going, hey, he only named a few releases from 1991, so why haven't I heard of this so-called classic? And the answer is, unfortunately, similar to many of the slightly less high-profile classics I've covered on this page, They dropped within a year that was so fruitful and prolific that unfortunately the album ended up getting a bit swept under the rug in the grand scheme of things. Due to that, I feel like these types of projects don't necessarily get their due praise. And if you think I'm exaggerating about the strict competition they faced the year their debut came out, just a handful of my fellow personal favorites from '91 include Naughty by Nature's self-titled debut, Cypress Hill's self-titled debut, NWA's E Fell for Zaggin, Main Source's Breaking Atoms, De La Soul's De La Soul is Dead, Black Sheep's A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing, and OG Original Gangster by Ice-T. And that's still skipping over game-altering debuts like Tupac's Tupacalypse Now, KMD's Mr. Hood, DJ Quick's Quick is the Name, and Del the Funky Homo Sapiens, I Wish My Brother George Was Here. Besides, I feel like you should always try to judge an album based on its own merits and how it truly makes you feel, opposed to how other people felt about it on impact, because there's many examples where absolutely legendary, beloved albums that we look back on as some of the best ever created were either panned by critics upon release, flopped commercially and garnered very little sales from fans initially, or sometimes both. I truly think Dub C and the rest of the Maad Circle accomplished an impressive feat on Ain't a Damn Thing Changed, and I implore any old school gangster rap band to give this thing a spin, especially if you're more of a West Coast Golden Age hip-hop head. Of course you have to bring a helping handful of featured artists in for an album like this, and on here those guest appearances are comprised of Casanova Jeff, Don Silva, Jackie Simey, M.L. Davis, Jazzy D, Mike, JD, Fodo Taylor, Lil D, Queso, MC8 of Compton's Most Wanted, and Ice Cube. Then we also have some top-tier producers who contributed their talents for the beats here, most of them in-house, including Dub C himself, DJ Crazy Tunes, Sir Jinx, and Chili Chill. When it comes down to the honorable mentions I chose for this LP, they consist of songs like the title track, Ain't a Damn Thing Changed, Out on a Furlough, A Crazy Break, Caught in a Fad, Getting Looped - Dress Code, Back to the Underground, and The Soldier's Story. Then with my top 3 favorite tracks overall on this one, I ultimately had to go with Behind Closed Doors, You Don't Work, You Don't Eat, and Ghetto Serenade. Thank you for watching my 262nd video. Next time we're returning to one of my all-time favorite groups to cover the only instrumental project in this entire group. So look for that one, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite moments off this gangster rap gem are. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.